Howdy folks, Keywii here, and welcome back to Suzerain, a safe space in which to be awesome, where we are just dreading everything that ever happened. So, welcome to the Gulf of Nargis. I'm gonna hit this right here. And continue. Trials of Democracy, Turn 3 in our Trials series. If democracy is what they are asking for, then democracy is what they will maintain and obtain. 5 news reports, only 1 of them good. 3 of them from the fucking Radical. Oh, okay, only 2 from the Radical. Alright, let's see what Sordland today has to say. School poisoning in Ribble. Police have arrested the principal of high school in Ribble, in southern Bergia, where 12 students died after eating a free meal laced with pesticide. The students, aged between 15 and 17, died after eating a lunch of a local dish of zabla, cooked at the school in a poverty-stricken city. Police have started the investigation to solve the mystery of how the pesticide ended up in the food. Yeah, we need to work on our school stuff. Van Houten blames Volksland for the missing fishing vessel. On Tuesday morning, Agnolia's Prime Minister Van Houten has made a statement denouncing Volksland for the missing vessel. Hull number ARV0238. Our dutiful Coast Guard have rescued a crew member of the missing vessel. Through his statement, we have learned the ship's unfortunate end was none other than Volkslandian Navy. However, Prime Minister has refused to disclose the surviving crew member due to fear of an assassination attempt from Volksland to cover up their hostility, as the minister later claimed. The Economist. Upcoming government budget changes. Excellent. As the top economy experts in the country, we have been watching the upcoming changes to the government budget very closely. President Anton Rayne's first internal economic challenge lies ahead, and we will see if he can prove his capabilities as a leader who can think ahead. The potential ramifications of diverting the funding to certain governmental branches has always been a point of contention for any leader, and is no different for this case. We will see if President Rayne can hold on to the promise he has given during the election campaign. Promises that everyone cares about always, so I gotta be careful about those ones. Time for women to stand up. Well, I agree with this, but why is a radical saying? The women of Sordland have always been under pressure by the unequal society and the system of discrimination that was built by old men who only knew about war, said Katrina Horton in Women's... Horton Here's a Hoot. In women's rally that was held in Whole Sword yesterday, Swordish League of Women is organizing a number of rallies across Sordland to bring the change Sordland desperately needs. It's time for Sordland to realize that we have to respect every individual regardless of their sex and strive to become an advanced civilization. Women have long been pushed to the corners of the social and political life. To address this change, a new campaign was started all over Sordland to establish a framework for women's rights. Swordish League of Women is organizing rallies with the support from Minister of Education. Are these people just immune to the word the? The Minister of Education, Sierra Walda, and the Minister of Assembly, Katrina Horton. Everybody is equal according to the Swordish Constitution, but there are no protections against discrimination, which only reinforces the inequality in practice, said Walda in a press conference. This movement must be supported by all Swordish women as well as men. We need to bring change now. We can do it. Questioning soulless education. Yeah, I really want to work on that education stuff. The newly unveiled SIPA Education Performance Report unveiled a sad reality about Sordland's abysmal status in comparison to many countries. Sordland is rated 39th out of 68 nations that were assessed by the OMEC organization. See, halfway down the list ain't too bad. Ain't too bad. We're a little past half, but it ain't too bad. 34 would be half. The primary gauge of the quality of education is made up of a sample of 16-year-olds from each nation and their capacity in fields like mathematics, history, chemistry, and many others. One of the key issues was seen as the strong focus on history and citizenship classes, leaving little time for scientific fields. Minister Walda often mentioned the gaps in the system in her assembly debates before she joined the cabinet. This is also supported by one of our editors, a professor from Whole Sword State, who had long been critical of the situation in secondary education. The SIPA report reveals the damning truth that soulless education, based on the principles of statism, nationalism, and republicism, poisons the bright minds of our children. We need to rid the system from this poison that is ideological indoctrination and let our future generations think for themselves. Agreed. We need to fix education. That's sort of the thing we said we would do. Fix economy, fix education. It's the two things we need to do. Only two things. Anyway, what's going on in Bourne? Communist books burned in Bourne. Local residents gathered thousands of books that they claimed to be spreading communist and malevolent propaganda at the Century Park in Bourne and set the books on fire. Aggressive slogans targeting the Red Youth, the Workers' Party of Bludia, and the Communist Party of Sordland were shouted. Youth groups from the local party offices of USP and NFP also joined in the burning. The fire department was dispatched and the protesters dispersed on their own. Okay, so in Gruny, hang on one moment. Gruny. I do not have anything for Gruny. Okay. Gruny. Alright, Borin. Communist. Oh, hang on. Book. Burning of communism. Okay. All right, let's read a few more reports, then get to the actual game. What's going on in Narbel? Read the reports from Narbel. Lacks hospitals. The mayor of Narbel has reported that their hospitals are overburdened and they are unable to respond to the needs of the citizens. He complained about months-long waiting lists for terminally ill patients on top of the capacity issues. It was also noted that the facilities are still largely using outdated technology. So, let's get that down. Nargis. Here we go. Narbel, understaffed police. Understaffed hospitals. Okay. Wait, before that. We haven't even gotten that far on the thing. Recession hits farmers again. Goody. What's going on in Lockhaven? As per the latest news from Lockhaven, the farming industry has taken another hit as a result of the recession. There are reports that 16% of all wheat in Lockhaven is rotting in barns due to lack of buyers. Farmers are requesting additional funds from the government to survive this year. We'll see what we can do. Alright, let's see what's Blutish resistance in sanctuaries. Security units have arrested 3 priests at 2 different Nurity sanctuaries in Sarna after finding links to insurgent activities. The report came from an elderly man who wanted to pray in peace, but instead found himself invited to join the Blutish Freedom Front by a state-sanctioned priest. Further incidents indicate that the BFF is pushing for a local recruitment drive in different sanctuaries across the region. Yeah, that is sanctuaries. Sanctuary! Alright, what's going on in Elvery? Read the report from Elvery. Young Swords and NFP flags at burn. Massive counter-protest against Young Swords, led by local politician known to be allied with the Red Youth, resulted in many injuries and property damage. Subsequently, Young Swords and the National Front Party flags were burnt, which caused tensions to escalate. Local police dispersed the protesters by sundown. Well, that's good. Hopefully they don't come back, you know? Alright, barbecue with Frank, resident of the president of Sordland, Whole Sword. It was a Saturday afternoon, my first break from work in what felt like years, years. And the weather couldn't have been more perfect. Trying to keep my mind off the upheaval sparked by the circus assassination, I lit the backyard grill. Monica and Dina were out shopping for craft supplies, and I'd given the staff the day off. It was just myself and Frank at home. I wasn't sure how he felt about me at the moment, but I didn't know how he felt about barbecued ribs. Our cook had left some marinating in the refrigerator. Soon enough, as soon as Frank glimpsed the grill and the meat, he stepped outside to join me. Oh, look, he's finally out of his room. I always hated when my mom and sister said just shit like this. Gonna spend some quality time with your old man, have you? This seems a little more like, diplomatic. Sure, if you can spare a few minutes out of your busy schedule. Children who talk back to their fathers don't get dinner. Fan these flames, will you? Look, son, preoccupied with matters of national importance. I'm sorry, I know I haven't been around very lately, but I'm happy to see you now. Yeah, I'm in a sentimental mood. That's why I sent all my staff away. It's just the day for it, It's okay, I know you got the most stressful job in the country, and you've got to feed your family on top of it all. We both chuckled. I turned to tend to the fire. Here, let me try. He grabbed the fan and started quickly waving it over the coals. The fire roared to life. He turned to look at me with a grin on his face as if he was expecting praise. Not bad. Good job, pig. Don't act like you've done something special, Frank. Not bad. Thank you, sir. It is our utmost interest to fulfill our duties with precision. The grilling shall commence in exactly 1 minute and 32 seconds. That was a spot-on impersonation of... Oh, okay, he was doing Lucian. We looked at each other for a second, then burst out laughing. I realized my throat was parched. There was a 6-pack of beer in the kitchen. Frank, can you get me a beer? Why don't you bring us a couple beers? Ooh, alright, so how old is Frank now? Hang on, let me check. It doesn't say. I think he's 16. Why don't you grab us a couple beers? He looked at me in disbelief. You mean I can... But Mom told me... He stopped himself, quickly ran inside, and returned with 2 beers. We cracked them open, clinked the bottles. Bottles? I thought it would be cans. And gazed out at the city skyline. For a moment, my thoughts flashed back to my childhood and my relationship with my own father. My father was a hard-working man and always had our best interests in mind, or at least that's what he always said. But he had a temper, and would lash out at my mother in fights I could hear from my bedroom. By the time I was Frank's age, we seldom spoke. Now that I was the president, I was facing more stress than my father ever had. I would have to work hard to not to take my frustrations out of my family. Hey, can I ask you something? We are family, you can ask anything. Wait for him to think about what to say. It's just, I feel like there's so much you've been hiding from me about your past, about what's going on right now. Like at dinner the night after the ball, you told me everything was under control, but it wasn't it? I know what happened in the 20s. We all learned about it in school. Now with the protests and the rise, is it going to be the same thing? Dad, is there going to be civil war in Sordland? I hope not. No, I will never let that happen. I'm not going to avoid his question. I'm definitely going to answer it in one way or another. I hope not. He let out a sigh. But what was it like back then? Uncle Peter said that the 2 of you went through a lot. I'm not a kid anymore, you can tell me. Before I could gather my thoughts, the familiar images started flashing before my eyes. Images of soldiers advancing towards me and my friends, weapons drawn, of people I knew, friends and neighbors being dragged through streets and murdered in alleyways. And that little girl's face. Oh shit, I forgot! Oh, the fucking, like at the protest, there was, like, you tried to save the girl, but you couldn't, and she died, and you remember that face forever. Those are dark times. Those were dark times. It seems like it. You're nearly a grown man, let's talk about it. Well, you know what? This is what today's all about now. We're bonding. Frank leaned forward in his chair, his eyes wide. Tell Frank about the coup in 1927. Tell Frank about the Civil War. Never mind, now's not the time to talk about the past. Tell Frank about the coup of 1927. I was barely older than you are now. Studying economics at the Lockhaven Business School. I was a freshman, excited and young. I had just left the classroom to go back home as I heard the sound of multiple vehicles approaching the campus gates. As they got closer, I realized they were military camouflage trucks and tanks, carrying hundreds of soldiers. Same soldiers that were supposed to protect Sordland citizens pointed their guns at us. They immediately took control of the facilities. One of my friends asked what was going on and was arrested immediately. More people got angry and gathered in protest. My headphones are dying now. Cool. Frank kept listening, a shocked look on his face. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm usually good about making sure my headphones are charged, but I must have forgot last night. Refrain from telling about your... Alright, so he kept listening, shocked look on his face. Tell him that you ran for your life like a coward. Refrain from telling him about your quick escape. Yeah, I don't want him to think I was a coward. I want him to know I was out, like, despite the times I made it through. Refrain from telling about your quick escape. Seeing the crowd gathering, I knew something was going to happen, something bad. I decided it was impossible to go against armed men and departed. I stopped there and turned my head away from Frank. Tell Frank about the Civil War. It was time to tell him about the Civil War. It was right after I met your mother. We had both joined the same political debate group to push for change after the coup of 27. Eventually, I became convinced I wasn't doing enough, so I joined the Young Swords. Tell Frank about the clash between Suzerain and Ricard. Then, one night, it happened. Two different factions in the army, one of them led by fascist General Suzerain, and the other by socialist General Ricard, started fighting against each other. It was a bloodbath. Nowhere was safe. Frank shifted in his seat, visibly uncomfortable. So we organized a protest. We organized a protest one day against Ricard. We were fed up with the army toying with the country again. Refrain from telling him about the girl. I paused for a moment before continuing. It was horrible. They were waiting for us. Everything plunged into chaos. Soldiers started beating and shooting at everyone. I trailed off. There were some things my son didn't have to know. I've kept a few things from him in this one, but yeah, no. The fucking shit was terrible. That's enough for today. It's okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked you about it. I know I don't understand how easy my life is sometimes. One more thing, though. I know you joined the Young Swords back then. Do you mind if I ask why? Yes, I do mind. I don't want to talk about it. Sordland was under attack by communists, and I had to defend the country. I had to survive somehow in the environment, and I made my choice. I had to survive somehow in that environment, and I made a choice. Frank raised his eyebrows, his curiosity still not satisfied, but sensing my reluctance to go on, he simply nodded. Sorry for bombarding you with questions. I know I complain sometimes, but my problems are nothing compared to what you went through. I'm here to listen to them, no matter what they are. What problems? You're damn right, your generation will never understand. I'm here to listen to them, no matter what they are. See, that's the thing about going through real problems and real stress in your life and real trauma, is generally, and this isn't a rule, because there are no rules in trauma, but generally, you don't mind helping other people, again, generally, because you don't want them to go through the same shit that you went through, generally. Now, sometimes that isn't the case, but a lot of times when people say they went through things and, like, invite you into their, like, problems and stress or whatever, it's, maybe they did go through a problem, maybe they didn't, but primarily it's a attention-seeking action. Primarily, not always, never always, but, like, it's a case where a lot of people who go through what they think are problems and they want to, like, quote-unquote fit in with the other people, and I know this because I did this in high school, their life isn't as bad as everyone else, and they want to fit into the conversation because people naturally want to fit into conversations. Human beings naturally want to fit into places. But anyway, and again, not always, just a general rule. So those who don't have as big of problems will either exaggerate what they already have or make something up so they can fit in. But consequently, in Uno Reverse card, the people who go through that real life stuff, they are happy that other people are happy. Again, generally. That's in my experience anyway. I'm here to listen to them no matter what they are. Before Frank could say anything else, I heard the front door unlock. Dina and Monica's voices and the sound of rustling shopping bags filled the house. Alright, I'll be upstairs until dinner. Frank went in and dashed upstairs. Took a long sip of my beer, looking at the city and the now setting sun. I hoped that talking to Frank about my past had been the right decision. Part of me felt as if some sort of burden had been lifted. But I had some nightmares. I had the same nightmares again that night. Why is everything always fucking reports everywhere? There's shit going on in Narble now. Alright, what's the news have to say? Attacker opened fire on protesters, 17 dead. A man opened fire in Vesord City Center during a protest march organized by the Communist Party of Sordland against the murder of Bernard Circus. The attacker used a military-grade machine gun dated 1929, which is suspected to be part of the inventory of the Swedish Armed Forces. The attacker killed himself right after shooting at 25 people, killing 16. Jesus. He took out the weapon from the newsstand at the square, brandished it, and yelled, "Come, I will give you freedom," one witness said. The highly charged word freedom, I feel like this is very pressing to modern-day real-life times. So I'm going to refrain from commenting as best I can. One witness said, the highly charged word freedom was previously associated with Bludish separatists, but has been used widely during the previous month of protests against the murder of Bernard Circus. Minister of the Interior, Lily S. Graff, said that she had spoken to the chief of Vesord Police and asked him to take strict action. The government will not tolerate any such incident, and the perpetrators will not be spared, she said. Lockhaven Times. Gelsord FC, Enrica FC Derby postponed due to protests. One of the most anticipated matches between Gelsord and Enrica was postponed because of the intense protests in the city of Enrica. The league has issued the following statement regarding the situation. Due to safety reasons, the players are compromised during the time of trouble. Excuse me. We've decided to postpone the game. Moreover, we stand in solidarity with the fans, our players, and the people of Enrica in the fight against injustice. Mayor Curtin Lest has also made a statement. It is a tragic day of Sordland where the president himself refused to act in the face of communism. It is said that inaction breeds doubt and fear. Thus, I fear that the spread of communism has sown deeper inside the heart of the nation than we thought. However, I and the people of Enrica will never stop fighting for the soul of our great country. Undiplomatic elections of Sordland. Goody. Sordland has an electoral threshold of 10%. This means any political parties that are under 10% of the vote can't even enter the assembly. This is the very reason why the United Sordland Party holds 52% of the seats in the assembly today. It is also a reason why the largest ethnic minority of Sordland is non-existent in Sordish politics. The last elections have shown that the pro-Bludish WPB had an enormous voter base of just above 9%, but it still failed to meet the 10% threshold and couldn't enter politics. Similarly, the CPS had won around 8% of the general vote, but was eliminated. This means that millions of votes are not represented in our current government. Moreover, this has benefited the USP the most and gave them the lawmaking power. The undiplomatic threshold needs to be lowered down so that there is true representation in the assembly and a true representation of our voices. No one can call Sordland a democracy without a decrease or a constitutional proposal that does not include such change demographic. What's going on in Sordland? Read the report from Whole Sword. USP reports on reforms. Many members of the USP, led by Albin Calvin and the reform wing of the party, clarified their demands from the government in the party Congress. For the upcoming constitutional reform, Albin Calvin stated that without missing ministry reforms, they won't be able to stand behind the new reform package. What's going on in Antel? Prisoners riot in Antel Rock Prison. Yesterday around 11 a.m., a prison riot started in Ward C of the Antel Rock Prison, which was eventually suppressed. Ward C is generally used for keeping political prisoners, and the riot started when a warden was killed by a Bludish political prisoner. 4 guards and 21 prisoners died. 134 were injured. Okay, we got a thing way over here that I didn't notice. In Morna. Read the report from Morna. Morna industrial output concerns. The mayor of Morna has reported that their industrial output numbers this year are 12% lower than last year. They're requesting additional support to improve their industry capacity, including machinery and personnel, to combat the downwards trend. With the construction of several new factories in Morna, the mayor stated his belief that an economic upturn in the city is still possible if government investments succeed. According to current projections, Morna is set to lose an additional 2% of industrial output next year. However, recent data from the municipality suggests that the investment worth several billions of SR will stop the downward trend and increase the industrial output in a short amount of time. Okay, read the report from Lockhaven, H3 report from SSC. SSC's project manager for the H3 highway has reported that the project has been progressing well, and they have already started laying down the foundations of the ground retaining walls, bridges, and earthworks. Project supervisors from the government confirmed that the report, saying that most of the preliminary work has already been done by the SSC. However, the government officials added that there were a couple of delays related to the transportation of construction materials, which were not included in the SSC's report. Shame that. Now, do I start a new scene? Presidential visit to Narble. Presidential state car, road to Narble. Because this could be more than 4 minutes, and I kind of want to stop going to 40 minutes, you know? Alright, well, what do we got going on? Nothing has happened in turn 3 yet. Turn 1, we were elected... I allowed the new electoral campaign finance bill to pass into law. I accepted the offer to privately meet with the CEO of HOS. A decision was made to promote a planned economy in the country. The H3 highway will be the first infrastructure project of my term. I declared my intention to work with the reformists for the constitutional reform. We struck a backroom mutual assistance deal with Marcel Caranti. I attended the funeral of Bernard Circus. I accepted a bribe from the oligarchs to give the construction contract to the Underhall Construction, which I just straight up didn't do. I supported our police forces and aided their recruitment effort to stabilize the country. Our administration has passed a large economic relief package distributing stimulus checks to people in need. The construction contract was awarded to Sortish State Corp. I decided to release a statement condemning Roomberg. I decided not to fulfill the bribe demand of the oligarchs. Alright, so what I'm going to do, and this is a little different from what I normally do, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to call the episode here. A little early, I know, but I want to tackle this scene first thing next episode. I almost said tomorrow, which is right, but also, you know, just next episode. Because that way I'm not just, like, spending the first 10 minutes reading a report. I instead get to actually, you know, do a scene. So that'll have to be it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Keywii, and great to yourself for a delightful day, and I hope you've been enjoying this series. I've been having a great time with it, but you know what? Not everyone does, and I hope you guys are. So thank you, I love you, goodbye.